welcome to episode. Hello and welcome to issue 19 of the Hobbyhammer cast vodcast. Yeah.
Podcast, yeah.
In this issue,
What have
we've
we
got
done?
a little bit of news, Miles. We've got
Ooh, okay.
a little bit of what we've been doing. So,
Yeah.
shall we just go straight onto the main ne-
News.
news of this week?
News. You did say we got a little bit of news.
A,
So what's
tiny
what's
bit.
on news?
A, ti-
What's a tiny bit of news, Max?
a tiny bit of news is that Space Marine 2 is coming out.
Yeah, only a small bit of news. There was just a new trailer released, 6 minutes worth of footage. Where they're talking about the different classes. Were they talking about the different classes of Space Marine? So did you ever play the classic game at all?
Like the first one.
The first one, yeah.
I did. I played it for like 10 minutes at someone's house. I don't own a console, and my computer wasn't good enough at the time because I didn't have like a fancy editing computer. I was a poor student.
When the PS3 came out, I thought, these consoles have been coming out so frequently now. I'm going to skip this generation, go straight onto PS4, and then I'll back play it. And I think the PS3 is renowned for its lack of compatibility across the rest of the range.
Right.
So of all the consoles I could have chosen to not buy for cross compatibility, that was the worst one I could have chosen. But there's some real classics on there. Metal Gear Solid 3, I think, Guns of the Patriots, Space Marine. They also had the first generation of BioShock. And oh God, what's that name? Anyway, they had like a bunch of good games on there. And about a year ago, I had a bit of like a mini breakdown, like this little bit of wobble. Like, oh my God, I need to buy a PS3. Oh my God, oh my God. No idea where that bubble of trauma came up from. So invested in the PS3 cost me a princely sum of £80 for the console and the game. So much fun. It's so much fun. Like a lot of shooters like this, I think they don't quite get across the feeling of like weight of a Space Marine. Like if a Space Marine's like jumping around and dancing around, and I feel this way about like especially modeling. So when you see a dreadnought being modeled where he's kind of like one leg up in the air doing a kung fu kick or like this acrobatic movement, it always rings as false because it's this very heavy industrial piece of machinery who could barely lift one leg in front of another without tipping over.
Well, do you remember the first Dawn of War? That had the best animation for a dreadnought because they sort of waddled and just like rocked between
clumped.
Like,
I do remember that animation. Oh, and this is the time of, I think it was Heavy Gear, the video game, the Xbox exclusive where you run around like shooting up aliens.
Gears of War.
Gears of War, that's it. So it was the time of like really heavy, violent video games, like big, heavy dudes doing big, heavy, masculine dude stuff. And Space Marine is the perfect encapsulation because when you are running, the ground thuds underneath you. And you don't really move that quickly. Like orcs are skittering around you. The cultists that are like running to and fro. You are more inevitable. Like you're crunching forward. The bolter, like the sound design is really good. Anyway, the first generation of Space Marine game, it is very, very good. So if you do decide to go through your own little mini breakdown, I can highly recommend buying the PS3. And I'm so looking forward to this game. It feels like it's carried on that sense of weight and just ultra violence the first game had, which I think that's what a Space Marine is, right? It's being dropped into the worst combat zones imaginable in the future and then slaughtering its way through any problem it encounters. Oh, yeah. And the game looks great as well. Visually, it just looks phenomenal.
Yeah, like we've had it playing like while we've been talking. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I'm definitely going to try out, like having an editing computer now. I can fully get into, because part of it is the graphics, and as you say, like the feeling of weight. And I was at the time Space Marine original one came out, playing like like an 18 frames a second versions of games that I could pause, so that I could actually have like so that I could play a game, because my computer wasn't good enough.
So I try well because I worked from home for like 10 years. I couldn't have any of those games in the house because I come down from my break. I'll just have a snack and maybe 10 minutes of Space Marine. It'd be fine, and that would be my day gone. But because I work in the office now, I can separate that out a little bit more. Yeah, I just cannot wait for September to hit. My family aren't going to see me for a week. I'm going to try and play the entire. The last game I really got into like that was Cyberpunk, when they did the like edits of it. Love that game to bits. I cannot wait to play this game, Space Marine 2. Really, really cannot wait. And they got Chaos Marine upgrades as well. They got Chaos Marine skins for it. Can't wait to play myself a little bit Black Legion.
Yeah. I'll jump in on that with this one.
Okay.
Maybe we can do some like co-op playing of Space Marine 2. Have you played Vermintide?
No, I haven't.
Vermintide 2. That's
I haven't
worth
really
dipping
played
into.
that. I haven't played many games, let alone just Games Workshop games. I downloaded Space Hulk, but I found that it would the performance of the game, like it would get to the point where like 300 gene steals are coming at me and the game was shutting down.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit frustrating. And I wish there was like a god mode in that, or like a servitor drone mode, because the texture is so gorgeous, like the detailing, the interiors are so gorgeous, but you can't really take it in because you're too busy like gunning down gene stealers. I wish there was a way where you could just like bobble along, travel along, and just
Passive mode.
observe all. Yeah, exactly. Like, because how much time, textures in those environments to see like blinks of them. I wish I had a bit more time to just appreciate them. I've Vermintide though. So, okay, I'll give
it's worthwhile.
Vermintide a
Like
go.
it's lovely fantasy environments. For I think you in Ubersreich the first time, and then you start in. I think at one point you go to Castle Drachenfels. So it's set in the old world. Group of cool adventurers. They own. There is a mix. It's like the old 5th edition style mix of all Chaos forces. So you do get Skaven alongside Chaos. There's no mixing of orcs in there.
That's awesome.
Like it's a very enjoyable game, fast paced.
Okay, I'll give it a whirl. Because if I was Elon Musk rich, and I just so happened to want to create like a video game set in the Games Workshop universe, I'd love to do Necromunda, but kind of like a cyberpunk-esque / GTA style-esque Necromunda game. That would be the dream for me.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Like, well, just any open. I think part of it is like just open world style. All Games Workshop games up to now, I think, have been either Total War, but that's not really like an open world style game.
No.
Or linear style missions that you just plod through.
And something. I mean, with Sorry.
I was just going to say part of it would be exploring the world as much as playing it in the same way as you said with Space Hulk.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is with games like Necromunda and Wartime, I really like the leveling up system where you could take like a Juve to this gang lord. So something like that. I mean, but we're daydreaming here. Who knows who will happen? Maybe Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos will take an interest and produce their own game.
Well, didn't Jeff Bezos take an interest in The Expanse, and that's why it got picked up by Amazon?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So right.
Apparently, people just need to petition Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's start a thing.
Let the emails
what are the news?
Other news.
Other news. Yeah, other
what
news.
We've been doing, Miles.
So what have we been up to? What's up on screen now?
It's your chaos.
My chaos. Yes. Is there any better feeling in this hobby than ranking up a unit that you've fully painted and setting them aside other fully painted, ranked up units in like the square formation? Is there anything better than that feeling of just looking at it and it looking like an army, like a coherent force?
I think there might be one, and I'll say this from your perspective. You set up your army, and then I set up my army, and they look fantastic on a table. Lovely terrain. And then you absolutely crush my army and see my
Yeah.
tears as I take off my newly painted models.
Yeah.
And then we can chill
Or
out
like,
all the other times that we play, but the first time you just absolutely smash me.
yeah. Or like when you roll a dice and it goes towards that general you've painstakingly converted and like snap something off him.
with the
Yeah.
chain super glued into a like a wibbly pose, so
Yeah.
it definitely
Uh-huh.
snaps the
Yeah.
first time it's touched.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Two amazingly painted armies on amazing terrain set up alongside each other. Like you've chosen your magic items, you've chosen your like, and you have that like deep breath in. Ah, this is going to be good. Yeah, and then you just get smashed off the table. Yeah, that I think that is a better feeling. You're right.
No,
But
no,
yes,
I
this,
get you. Is that the satisfaction of ranking
mhm.
up your completed army is
Yeah,
high. It trends very high.
it's so it's given me a little bit of a spur to actually finish off um, creating the Chaos Knights. And
Mm.
oh my god, that Chaos Knight set. When it first came out, I had an argument with a friend that he didn't like them. Old style Chaos player, don't like them. The horses look like they're prancing. There's just too much going on. Like, what on earth are you talking about? These are some of the best sculpts Games Workshop have produced.
Are we talking
I feel like
the Chaos
the
Knights or
new
the
ones,
Vanguard ones?
the new Chaos Knight set. Yeah, Vanguard. Yeah, they're yeah something else. I have dealt with those, but no, the new. So, how can I describe the new ones? That they just they're just so busy. There's just so
Mm.
much going on with them that your eye doesn't feel like it has like a chance to rest on any particular detail because it's been overwhelmed by a bunch of other details. And assembling them was horrendous because they were made at the time where like the horse head A matches to like the left hoof C,
Yeah.
and you know your pattern recognition as a human being doesn't recognize, okay, head goes on head, arm to arm. So it took around about a month on and off where I'm just looking at this kit, getting disinterested, wandering off, coming back to it. But no, after I ranked off the unit, I had the spur of enthusiasm to finally build the knights. So that will be, it'll either be those or the marauders that
Mm.
I'll be painting next. But at the moment, for the foreseeable future, maybe this month, next month, I'll just be building. I'll be building marauders. I'll be building well, knights, filling in gaps and stuff. And I'm hoping as well to make another Lord character for the army. Maybe a magic user as well, but that's for the foreseeable future. There's not going to be much in the way of painting. I'm going to be setting myself up to paint. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. So have you worked out how many points you've actually got total here?
Oh, no idea. No idea. I'll paint what I'm enthusiastic about. I'll paint to the sort of like image I have in my head of
Mm.
what an Chaos Army should look like. And then once I've sort of like spunked all my enthusiasm out for the project and it's all settled down, I'll see exactly how much I'll work that stuff out later.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I have.
Because I can always bulk it up with magic items, or I can reduce it with by not buying my guys so much magical items. So I could kind of finesse the points that way.
Yes, yeah, but there'll need to be a certain like. This is now a separate discussion from
Yeah.
that. I was just asking like, do you know
Uh-huh.
what level you painted
Oh,
to? But he's what I
ultimately,
was
no.
with that sort of approach at the end of it.
Uh-huh.
You might need to think about unit size of like, oh, a Chaos Marauder unit of 12 just isn't really going to work except for
No,
certain
30.
roles. So it might need to
No,
at least
no.
be a little bit thought out. And I think even
But
even when you
I
get to
mean, the
500 points, play a
sure.
game
Yeah.
and
I
see
mean,
what
the
your
way
army's lacking.
yeah, so the way I see them, I think we talked about this a couple of issues ago. That the way I see in the Marauder tribe, it's like a family going to war together. It's a tribe. It's not just like 12 berserkers. Yeah, I fully appreciate. Yeah, I need to do like a little bit of forward planning with that. But I'm hoping my I, idea of what an army should look like will translate into the from what I see from armies. They do roughly parallel like 8th edition armies, 7th edition armies. Like there
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
like a
yeah.
huge
More
breakaway from it.
eighth in numbers. Like
Yeah,
that's what I was sort of going to be recommending is
sure.
like because if you dedicate a lot of time paint lots of little like MSU style, like sort of if you had an idea of sixth edition from playing whatever edition, those unit sizes outside of a couple of armies don't translate.
Okay.
But
So
if you've got
bigger then.
if you've got eighth in mind, it will translate more directly, even if not exactly.
Okay, yeah, okay. I feel like I'm on roughly the right track. So we'll see what progress can be made.
Yeah.
So that's that.
The reason I'm saying that is I watched a video the other day. Is like I spent 3 years painting this army, and then it's completely invalidated, and I don't want you to get to the other end of the painting process of
was
being
it
like
the Stormcast guy?
Yeah. And I just watched it through just for a little bit, and I know this isn't the same thing, but I didn't. I was wary of you getting that feeling.
Yeah, I hope they don't blow up the world again in 3 years. That would be a bit of a kick in the nuts.
I don't know why, but I have faith. I have faith.
Yeah.
And plus, we've got a new edition we can play for the rest of time. If they do that,
exactly,
we've got an update.
Yeah, we've got an update. The rules seem pretty solid. Right. Okay. What about you? What have you been up to, Max?
Right. So I have been putting right. So my border towns, I've got the cannon and 2 brigands up on screen.
Check this out.
Don't bother looking, Miles. They look horrible. And it's the Cities of Sigmar range, and then I've got some heads from Victrix Huskarls in there, and I like the aesthetic of where the models are going, but this is just a snapshot in time of where I'm currently up to with them.
No, I dig it. I mean, if somebody looks at this and evaluates your painting of this, they're an idiot. No, this is very much work in progress.
On my desk this morning.
Yeah.
So.
No, the dude with the dog. I love the energy. Of everything. Yeah, I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah. Then I've got my knight, who is he was going to be like the leader of the Knights Errant, like the more experienced
mysterious
knight in there. Yeah, sort of
mysterious traveller.
Well, that's it. Because I'm doing the exiles list, so he was like an exile, and then I started making him, and actually weirdly, after putting the axe on him and the hood. And then I put a bow on him to represent that, like, he's no longer held to the knightly ideals, potentially. And
are you going to cover up his shield?
What's that?
Are you going to cover up his shield?
Do you mean like paint it black after having the actual heraldry on there?
One thinking, paint heraldry, like scratch the hell out of it, and then maybe put like a little bit of cloth over the top, or like a little bit of rolled out putty, to make it seem like he's bolted over, like just a black pennant over the top of his heraldry.
No. So he's like, I was going more with, because obviously my entire army are exiles. So I was sort of thinking, rather than, if they've got their own lands in the Border Princes or somewhere now, they're not going to give a fuck about like being like, oh, I'm going to cover up my army. They're going to be like, no, we're here and we've got our castle. Like, these are my colours. Come take it off me. Is the sort of idea, and he's just eroding.
Got you.
But I've started to sort of like weirdly fall in love with this very simple model to be potentially my general.
Really?
Despite the fact that it's just so simple. Do you know when you just like end up liking a random model for no reason, for no explainable reason?
Yep.
He
just has an aura about him. He has a presence.
Yeah. And then you kindly got me because my Games Workshop account wasn't logging in on the day that the Bretonnian Battle Standard Bearers came out. And so I checked later in the day, last Friday, I think it was, or the Friday before they came out, and we were sat on the cast at 10, and I was like, Miles, will you buy me this and I'll pay you back so that we can get it moving, because my account's not working. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, they'd sold out again.
God, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, it's a good job we did buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job we did buy it when I did.
So I wanted to get across, like, again, more of the sort of like Exiles, Hedge Knight. A bit more crazy look, but actually I didn't want to cover up too much of the space for heraldry and painting. So I just ended up like changing the standard a little bit, adding some extra, like sort of the light and the skull,
Yeah. No, it
the
looks good.
flagellant head, and
Yeah, I like the flag. I like the sort of like rundown appearance to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I dig that.
Then I've got my foot standard bearer, which I really like.
Uh-huh.
That marauder. That marauder head is my favourite head,
Yeah.
or one of my favourite heads they've ever produced. But in making this model, I sort of realised, because I've got the sweep of the wind, obviously all in the same direction, but in changing the direction of the head, I don't know whether
Yeah.
it quite works with the chest, because it's sort of like the chest is he's like sticking out his chest and protruding it, not in like sort of a boob sense, but just in like
It's
an actual.
I think that the chest is too over articulated. It's like he hasn't got any armor underneath.
Yeah, yeah, potentially.
It's an odd one. It's a real odd one, that pose.
I suppose maybe it's just mail armor underneath, and then like completely flexible, because then they don't
Yeah.
have full plate Bretonians. Any plate on there isn't supposed to be full plate, but yeah, I might just have to shave down or bulk up the shoulders. Like to get them to come forwards.
Yeah.
Like to give it a more straight up and down pose.
Yeah.
But just seems a shame. The standard is incredible. I've got it in my hands now, just playing with it. The standard is absolutely incredible on both models. Just to have a canvas to paint onto. But yeah, a little bit of work required, I think. So yeah, that is my battle standard bearers. I managed to actually get the models, or you managed to get for me the models that I've been after since January. And I believe you actually have some big news on that front as well.
Yeah. So
Sound less enthusiastic, Miles. I don't think you could. That was the thing. Yeah, go on.
I have mixed feelings about this. Yes, but finally, I was able to get my hands on the final portion of the Siege of Terror series, the End of the Death Volume 3. Warhammer World, they did announce that they found around the back of the sofa around 600 copies of these, and they
many?
were, yeah, there was a huge amount, a huge amount, and they were going to sell them off on a Monday, just a random Monday. You turn up first thing in the morning, they'd hand you over a ticket, then you'd have to wait all day until 6 o'clock, and 6 o'clock was the only time you were able to purchase it with your raffle ticket. You'd go up and you'd buy one.
That's an odd choice.
That's odd. Yeah. Odd okay. Right. How to frame this discussion? So being up. Okay. I mean, the overall, I guess the sort of like mini event that I turned up to, it very much had the vibe of a Horse Heresy weekender, because I was seeing all my old friends, I was seeing all the old faces that would turn up to that, and because it wasn't an event, I don't know how to say it other than this, but it wasn't a like corporatized event. You didn't have like influencers there. You didn't have personalities there trying to like
get their content.
Like or like hype up a product where people are already excited for anyway. The only people who turned up were Heresy heads, like hardcore fans of this series. And I honestly don't mind driving up to Warhammer World. It's always a fun time being there. But the fact I was able to see my old friends, to see all the same people, and the ticketing thing did turn out to be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. So instead of just turning up first thing in the morning, buying a book, then going back home, I was kind of like, you're forced to stay there. Yeah. So I took up some Blood Angels, I took up some Sons of Horus, and I managed to get a game in as well. I mean, I haven't played in about a year, but I was able to play with Keith Townsend from the Mournville podcast. Hi, Keith. And it was a great amount. Well, before that, we did go to Miller and Carter, and I ordered an outrageous amount of food and drank a whole bottle of wine, and I just got sober enough to drive back home later on in the evening. But seeing all the old people, having those conversations, it just reminded me of, we do slip into quite a lot of nostalgia on the show. It just reminds me of just how good the heresy scene is. It was a much needed shot in the arm. It was a much needed like tonic. Just how good the heresy community can be between like the people that are there. Way too many people to mention. Just Leaky Cheese. Hello, Medas Miniatures there. Thank you so much, Medas, for inviting me to play on the table. I'm so sorry I wandered off and ate steak and drank a bottle of wine instead. But
no, you're not.
But he had his Ultramarines there, just gorgeous Ultramarines to look at. His opponent had amazing Death Guard. Lex from Crusade and Heresy. He flew over. Well, he was over here on holiday from Singapore anyway.
Yeah.
I think by the time he got the book, he'd spent something like 40 hours a week. I'm pretty sure he was hallucinating by the end of it. Nathaniel from Warmaster Painting, he was there. Hello. Again, I'm so sorry if I'm missing anyone out. There's so many
it's the nature
people
of
there.
it, isn't it? Because the entire what you're saying is that there are a lot of the people that used to make up the crowd of the Heresy Weekenders that we used to go to. That's actually where we met. It was present there because it was a big Heresy event, and it's almost potentially, at least in the series of books, the final event that there can be, because it is the final book. So outside of it being a game experience, or if they do the Scouring or whatever, this is the culmination. It's almost impossible to name everyone that you will have.
I think that's what that's what my mixed feelings are about this, because it's every 3 months or so you have something to look forward to. You have like a book coming out in the Horus Heresy series, building on what previously went before. It could be a good book, it could be a bad book, whatever. You were able to discuss it as a community, but with this, it's the final capstone. It's over now. It's done.
But you got your book. That's a good thing.
I did get my book, but it doesn't. But again, it doesn't excuse how shoddily Games Workshop distributed these in the first place. How badly, from like ground up. I don't think that Games Workshop, the company, deserve any praise whatsoever. The staff deserve praise, even though they had a bunch of people turned up, and they had no idea why we were there. No, there were like 2 or 3 people. Yeah. I overheard one of the sales staff like, "God, it's busy today. Like, I hear we're selling like a book at 6 o'clock. Like, what's that about? Like, are we being paid overtime for this?" Communication within that company, I don't know what the hell's going on. As a company, why on earth they don't do just short windows for people to buy whatever they want? So a 2-week window, come along, buy it with however many you want. I don't really care whether you have to change it from limited edition to scarce edition, whether there's something to do with like the legality of calling it a limited edition and having that window. I don't care. I don't even care about getting it signed by Dan Abnett. It's a lovely little addition to the book, but if it means I can secure this copy without the anxiety, without having to, because there were people in the queue who had paid scalpers to secure this book before they knew this event was happening, like £500-600 profiting off enthusiasts for that.
This is something that we've talked about before. So maybe maybe doesn't need to be like sort of flagellated on. No, just because it's definitely an important note to talk about or like to bring up, because it is the case that this is actually making up for something that's happened previously.
Yeah.
But this has been an experience ongoing that I think we've talked about a few times. That is. Because there will still obviously be people that have missed out, not able to get to it being on a Monday. Exactly. I think is maybe the point. Is maybe a new point to be talking about. Is because it's got the flip side. It's got the two-hand. It maybe limits numbers to. They're already not going to get more people than they can actually get in.
Yeah,
and can get those books going down. So putting it on a Monday potentially just limits it.
All in all, there was around, I want to say like a roughly 300 to 400 people there.
Oh, so there might still be books.
So at the end of the day, you went up, bought a ticket, you could get one copy each.
Yeah.
And once everyone had bought at least one copy, you could go around again to buy another copy. So a lot of
Right.
people after buying the first copy left. A lot of people stayed to buy copies for friends abroad, for people who have asked for them. I mean, unfortunately, a couple of books did go up on eBay because of it. But on the Tuesday, there's around 300 books left at
Right,
Warhammer
okay.
World. So they are there if anybody wants to make the trip,
And
or
that
if
was this
anybody's
last
local.
Monday.
This last.
Yeah,
So
so
the event happened on the Monday. On the Tuesday, there's around 300 books left.
Yeah. So as this comes out
Warhammer World.
Saturday, drive up there right
Yeah.
now if you want one.
Drive up there right now and buy one. Yeah.
Stop
But
listening
I guess
to
I mean,
this.
ultimately, what's the feeling you're left with after the series? It ended on a real sour note, purely because of how it's been handled. And getting this copy, I don't feel any better. I mean, it's nice I'm able to finish the collection, but when I look at this, I'm more aware of just the scalpers that are out there of profiting off this, and the people who weren't able to get the book. That's, and I know we try and be positive on this podcast. I know
I don't think you do.
we try, but ultimately you have to say what you feel, right? And the heresy because of this has ended on a real sour, bitter note.
I don't think it has to though. Like it's a thing of you've sort of focused on the book there versus the event. Like the event that you've
the
gone
event
to
was ancillary, right? It sprung up. It wasn't advertised as a heresy event.
Heresy.
The event was created because the community. We were driving it. It was good because I was able to talk to friends. It wasn't because of this or the company. They didn't foster any kind of goodwill. So,
when you're saying that, like, it's heresy as a game, which is at the end of the day the main interaction point for most people. Heresy as a game didn't get an update for like 4 years. Like, no news before Heresy 2 for 2 years. Like, it's not a game driven. One of the strengths of Heresy 1 and the ongoing strength of Heresy was the strength of the community. And that's maybe a point to think
And why
about
was that
there.
community so strong? Why was that community so strong?
The love of the game and the love of the background.
It's like because of the Forge World. I mean, I would argue. I would argue, all those points, absolutely. But Forge World went out of their way to foster that community. They held their own events off their own back, and artists would turn up again off their own back to go to these events and talk to fans. They took the time to foster that community. They took more of an interest in fostering that relationship with the fans.
I just don't know whether there was a lot of strength of community over the unsupported times where I don't know, I no longer see it as expecting anything out of Games Workshop to be good. I don't know whether any of us should have been surprised at this final book, that after every other book in the series having the exact same shit method of buying it.
Even though it's great that I had the book, great, I just wanted to drive home that point that Games Workshop shouldn't be let off for their bad.
Not at all. It's just I don't think the overriding point of the heresy in the end for you should be that it was a shit order process. Do you know, like,
it was a sour experience finishing off this collection.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, and that's fair, because that is.
But thank God for the people within the community, because it just reminded me why I fell in love with the heresy in the first place, being there.
Yeah.
Never again buying one of these limited editions. Never again.
So, speaking of not limited editions, while you were at Warhammer World, you got Riders of the Dead.
I did, yes. Now, you've been recommending this book to me for a couple. We've gone to, okay, so 40K has a lot of great titles. You have Eisenhorn, you have the Night Lord trilogy, you have the Black Legion books.
Brotherhood of the Snake.
You have Space Marine brother of the Snake, Gaunt Ghosts. But I couldn't think off the top of my head any great Warhammer fantasy books or series. I mean, you have Bill King, you have Gotrek and Felix, which we've said like it's pretty much like of its time.
Yeah.
It's fun swords and sorcery kind of fiction, and you recommend give Rise of the Dead a chance. I was like, oh God, all right, if you insist, like this is going to be terrible. So I start like from the first sentence. Okay, I'm in. There's just something really comforting about reading a writer in full flow. Like, but you were just reminded that Dan Abnett is a very good writer, and from the first sentence, it's a well-constructed sentence. It brings you into the world. It's interesting. From the first, like, I'm in. So thank you so much for this recommendation. I'm reading this a little bit. So when I enjoy a book, like I really read it slowly. So I'm on like the fourth part right now, but yeah, thank you so much for this recommendation. I'm loving every sentence so far.
Good to hear. Like that is the book that launched my Chaos Army. I'd say like 6 years ago now, somewhere around that. So that's why my Chaos Army that everyone sees on channel is a mounted Marauder horse Chaos Army. It's entirely, and it started out with Siege. That's why it entirely goes back to that book. It's just so good.
Yeah, there was one copy of Warhammer World, like tucked away in the corner, like a little paperback edition, and perfect. And you know, at Warhammer World, one of the fun things going on Warhammer World is finding these little bit of treasures, because I mean, I was looking around the Astra Militarum guard range, and sorry, I'm going to change camera angle right now. So I got this guy.
The Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Preacher, whatever. Missionary.
Missionary with chainsaw. Yeah, this is part of the like limited edition run that they did
like
a couple of months ago.
Oh right, okay.
Made to order, yeah. And I also picked up a Colonel Lionhand Strachan as well. Again, made to order miniature that I didn't sell or was returned. But you walk around Warhammer World, and every now and again you come across something like this, and you know you come across Forge World items that are no longer for sale online, but are physically there in store. So you have a bunch of like OOP shoulder pads from the Forge World range, from the Space Marine ranges. You got like old Orc Grot tanks, just stuff that is maybe like 1 or 2 copies left in the store, and they're just trying to sell them off.
Yeah.
So Warhammer World is a real treasure trove for things like this. I was very happy with my purchases, apart from that damn book on the day.
Right. Well, good that you at least got some things you were happy with in the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad for the people who are there. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Let's be a little bit more upbeat.
So I've actually just had to stop the cast for a second because I've actually had an arrival of my game for today for what will be coming out on channel next week, which is going to be Vampire Counts versus the Bretonians. So I'm going to have to actually dive off, and we will get to what we were doing. In addition to, we've done a lot in the last week, Miles. We have, yeah. We've covered a lot. And I guess the summation of the Warhammer World experience, yeah, it's a good fare. I mean, this past week as well, I managed to do my first 3D print as well. My first high quality 3D. Let me pull it up.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm over the moon with
this.
this.
Keep going. You can do this.
Finally, this has been driving me absolutely around the twist.
No, he's gone. He's here. I've actually done it, Miles. I've managed to do it.
All right.
So we've got the orc on screen. Go on.
So this is from a company called Brute for Fun Miniatures, and I'm finally able to produce a very high quality. So it makes it seem like it's like injection molded plastic. Which Joe was able to do before he gave the equipment to me. Then I've messed up a lot, but yeah. So what I've realized through 3D printing is that even more so than the sculpt itself, I really appreciate it when the miniatures are pre-supported well. and
Mm.
all of Brute Fun Miniatures stuff. I've just printed out a Dark Elf team downstairs. It's all perfect. It's perfect. The supports on them make the print. But you told me that a lot of people in the community don't like pre-supported prints.
Yeah, so now that's because 3D printing is so finicky for you, down to your actual setup of your printer, the temperature of the resin, and how perfect that setup. A lot of companies and sculptors set up their supports, and they've got lots of time for 3D printing and it's their life. They set it up as if everyone's is perfect. So then people get lots of fails on the pre-supports because it'll be these tiny pre-supports that require your resin temperature and everything to be absolutely dialed in. So a lot of people don't like pre-supports for that reason. Now, one thing to look out for is if you do like pre-supports, Miles, try and get pre-supported LYS files and use Lychee, because that will let you add supports on top of what has been pre-supported.
Oh, that's great, because I'm using I've been recommending Cheat2 Box, and that's all I use.
So I will go over with you another time. But yeah, Lychee is very similar to Cheat2 Box. And for everyone out there, very similar to Cheat2 Box. But it's a good program. Lots of people use it for pre-supports that you can just add heavy supports in place, or whatever supports additional in places to just sort of ensure that your print comes out. So I was going to say slightly different thing, but because you added high quality pre-supported files, well, that's true. That's true. I high quality pre-supported files.
Yeah, and for someone like me, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what the difference is between a good supported miniature and a non good supported miniature is. So for me, just to buy a file, put it on a USB, and then press print, that's what I need right now. And Brute Fun Miniatures, I can't say that name again. Thank you so much for pre-supporting your stuff. It's printed out beautifully, and it's all very high quality stuff. So cannot recommend Brute Fun Miniatures enough.
Highlands is also very good as well. If you want to, if you're doing orcs, they've got their orcs range just coming out now. But it's one that, like, the dwarves are absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and Imitation of Life as well. Imitation. He hasn't been so much busy recently. He does more Necromunda stuff, but I was shown how to use this printer with his miniatures because of how well supported the miniatures are.
I will write it down and check them out, to be honest.
Imitation of Life. Yeah, I feel like this could be another segment.
It's gonna be our favorite 3D printed stuff.
Okay, let's do that. Let's 3D print a bunch of stuff and then come up with like the best manufacturers for beginner 3D printers. Yeah, okay.
Even if we don't 3D
that's
print
what's coming up. That's what's coming up on next week's Hobbyhammer. Top manufacturers, top pre-supported, the best 3D modelers at the moment. How about that?
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Right.
And with that, I think we're going to bounce out now. So Max, you go say hello to your game. Thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully the discussion hasn't been too sour on it. Remember, we are still friends. I'll see you next week. We will see you next week.
All right. See you in a bit.